I'm going to chime in on a subject I've been meaning to talk about, and that is Warhol. And I'm going to chime in on my take on Warhol, someone that has been promoted and this is an important part in my. I'm going to keep this very brief because the idea of Warhol is a very succinct and precise thought that I have. And the fact that he was promoted is part of my understanding of Warhol. And of course, he came through a very impoverished upbringing, an immigrant, a Polish heritage, Slavic side, I guess, immigrant, and somewhat of a frail child as well, I think. So there is a lot of background in Warhol that probably determined his vision, his outcome, where he ended up. And in a nutshell, I'm going to say, this might upset some people, but he was the final nail in the coffin of the culture of death. And when I say the culture of death, the glorification of all those things that will not sustain us. Warhol, the work itself, will not sustain us. Not in the sense that I believe art, the mission, the mission that I'm on, the mission of art is to sustain us. Now, with the Warhol issue, I'm going to tell you why he's a genius. Absolutely brilliant. Identified and exposed an aspect of ourselves that is the end of us. If we buy into what Warhol told us, we're done, we're finished. Now, buying in meaning that you see superficially. The Warhol experience is a superficial experience. If you see, for example, the enormous amount of output, the incredible amount of work, that in itself is establishing him as a very important artist. Yes, I believe that. The output is very important. He sustained his vision with a substantial amount of work. Now, my point is this. The reason Warhol is such a difficult artist from my perspective, a person working in the art, my initiative, my incentive, my desire is to nourish. Now, you can say you can live off chocolate bars for a certain period of time, but eventually that'll kill you, like the guy who did Supersize Me with the McDonald thing. And in a nutshell, I'm going to, right off the bat, there are other little discussions and dissertations I could make about Warhol, but he exposed the end of culture. And the end of culture in the same sense that the Roman Empire ended, a culture was done, finished, and he exposed how we have become completely inundated with the worst of ourselves. How inundated, wrong word. How we have accepted and embraced, exalted the things that are destroying us. And in a sense, he became a victim of that exaltation himself. And the first major breakthrough that he had, obviously, the painting of the soup cans. And as Kevin Blanche so rightly has pointed out, it wasn't the painting of the soup can, it's the idea of painting the soup can. And what is behind the idea? Behind the idea is exposing the fallacy of the culture we have embraced. And this is brilliant. This is a form, yes, this is a form of genius. People say, oh, no big deal, you paint a fucking soup can, and no, what's a big deal? Well, it is a big deal. The painting is not a big deal. The painting is not a big deal. The idea of the painting, and the idea behind the painting is that he has exposed the weakness that we have embraced. We have embraced marshmallow culture, the glorification of the most unglorified people, the unglorifiable people, exalting becoming desires of fame, glory, money, Those kind of things are the things he exposed in his work every day, over and over and over. And people just lapped it up. And you've got these windbags. I was watching a documentary on him as well. I read some biographies, and this Bloom fellow was very instrumental in promoting him. Also, we have to remember that Henry Geldzahler, the person that ran the contemporary wing of the Metropolitan Museum. That was, I think he began in the Metropolitan Museum, the house of fuck of all art, in the history of art, not contemporary art. They started a program with Geldzahler to promote contemporary art. And Geldzahler, I think he brought in Francis Bacon early on and David Hockney. They were chums. Anyway, a person like Geldzahler would have been very instrumental in promoting someone like Warhol and getting him onto the front pages. And it didn't take a few weeks. It took a decade or more. It took maybe even longer, 15 years, before the true establishment of this character, of this personality, Warhol, became part of the public domain, to the point now when you go on the street and you say, name me an artist, somebody will either say Picasso, Dali, or Warhol. So you have this this consciousness in people completely wrapped up in this artist. And this artist has value. And this is, again, very important, not in a traditional sense of art. I love that, to destroy the traditions in order to add to. Now, my position ultimately remains this. He is the final artist in this, what Blanche calls the age of ignorance. He is the final one that has exposed this ignorance. And of course, a lot of people jump on board, and the windbags all come in and glorify this artist. Well, his work represents one single idea, one thought. We're finished. That's Warhol. We're finished. He represents something that is so powerful in culture, which is why he's been exalted and why he's been paid a lot of money. It deflects, it diffracts, it takes away people's attention from really what's going on. If you understand Warhol, you realize that is a dead end. It's not Duchamp saying painting is dead. Maybe he even said art is dead. I think he said painting is dead, and then a lot of people believe that. What a bunch of hooey. Painting is not dead. Painting is alive and well. These are constructs that are created arbitrarily to deflect us away from the actual message and what's going on. And this ties in to a lot of the what I call the disinformation being propagated. Warhol's main contribution, he exposed the weak underbelly of our souls. And that is the triviality of day-to-day life and accepting it as the exalted brilliance through all the, what would you call it, the seduction, the continuous seduction. We're being seduced with money, with fame, 15 minutes of fame. This is not the essence of us, and he exposed it. One thought, that's all there was. And he did variations on that theme all the way through. In a nutshell then, Warhol, the genius, the brilliance, the absolute brilliance of Warhol at the expense of his own life, I might say. I believe he was killed. I believe he was murdered in an operating room in a hospital. He was killed. He should not have died. Anyway, the genius of Warhol is he gave us on a platter as plain can be. He exposed the worst of the worst in the history of our civilization, going back to Nero and marrying his horse. He has exposed to us the fallacy of culture, the fallacy of the culture of death. And it is a culture he submersed himself in. And he knew exactly. He tried as much as possible to keep himself separate. This was his sacrifice, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know all the intricate workings of this troubled soul. But he exposed in his work the unsustainability of our aspirations. We're no longer in Rembrandt or even Van Gogh or Picasso, Matisse, all these people that were just glorifying and gloriously working in their work. No, Warhol, exposed the fact that we're finished. We've come to the end of the road, and we need to, that's what I say then. He didn't say we need to do anything. He exposed it. That's his genius, that's his brilliance. The culture of death. We're done as a species. Those are the soup cans.